Welcome back, and we're going to look today at the strategy of backgammon, a wonderful game played in tournaments, clubs and casinos, and with very significant prize money at the top level, with many, I think over 100,000 pounds in the or euros in the World Championship. And we're going to look at some basic strategy involving the cube, which is a great asset to backgammon in that it allows people to change the stakes of the game and adds to the excitement and the gambling of the game. And the cube is with the numbers 2 to 64 on. It should really have a 1 on it, which is what you start off with. But when you double, you double to 2. The first double of the game doubles to 2. What does that mean? Well, you're doubling the stakes. Does that mean your opponent has to accept? By no means. You can end the game there and then. And many a game lasts 3 or 4 moves. One person gets a tremendous start to the game and the opponent is left sort of reeling like a boxer hit by a knockout punch, and the game ends, really. And this is going to, we're going to show this an early game where it might end. The cube is normally put either in the center or at the side, and usually on 64 because it so rarely reaches 64. There's no confusion. And this particular one is, there's lots of different colored cubes, and we're going to use the red one for this. And sometimes you can have 3 or 4 players playing, each with their own cube. But the opening roll, we're going to, in order to show the position, we're going to have white getting a 6 and red getting a 2. Okay, so that was the opening roll. I'm not going to keep rolling until it happens. It's a lot better to just put them on the table. And white, as I explained before, had to play one of the numbers 6 and one of them 2, which could be the same one. And we decided that he was going to play the 6 to here and the 2 to here. Okay, and now red rolls. And red rolls a double 5. So that is one of red's best rolls, probably the best roll. And red, as we've explained before with the double, has to play the number 4 times. And because you've got to play it 4 times, this is the point at which you should stop and think, really, because a number played 4 times gives you twice as much chance to make a mistake as a number only played twice. So when you roll a double 5, I find in my games that when I make an error, it's almost always on a double, because there are 4 plays possible. And there's a standard opening strategy here with a double 5, and that is to attack. What do we mean by attack? Well, putting a checker on the bar, hitting a checker, is always a good idea. And 2 of the 5s are put here. We put 2 of them there so that if white gets a 1, he can't come in. And the other one, this one can't move. We'd like to bring that one round. And there's no point putting extra men on here particularly. And this is 2 to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the standard play. And this is what we call, I suppose, a blitz. It's a bit like the blitz in the Second World War, in that red has piled all his ammunition onto white, put a checker on the bar, made 3 points here so that if white gets one of these numbers, he can't come in. And exactly a quarter of the time, white doesn't come in here. You could work it out yourself if you like. Any 6, any 3, and any 1 doesn't come in. So double 6, double 3, double 1, 6, 3, 6, 1, and 3, 1 don't come in. And that's 9 of the 36 possible numbers. So you're already seeing a bit of the strategy of the game, where you're going to be very well placed if white rolls one of the 9 numbers that don't come in. Let's see what white did roll. And white rolled a 6, 1. Okay. Right, obviously one of the bad numbers, the numbers that we just mentioned that didn't come in. There are different forms of the game here. There's a tournament game where you're playing first to 11 typically, or first to 7, depending on the weekly clubs, quite often first to 5, because they're played the whole tournament in an evening, so they can't go having too many points. The game that we're going to consider is what we call a money game, where red and white are just playing in a pub or in a club or at a home for money, and they're playing, say, for £1 a point, or maybe even more than that. It's sort of, I've seen professionals playing for £1,000 a point, and against wealthy bankers, who are prepared to pay up. But in this example here, it doesn't really matter what the stake is, the strategy is still the same. And at this point, anybody who had been playing more than a month or two and was not just playing a 1-point match where there's no cube, would double the stakes. Okay, so and you do this by putting the cube in the middle of the table and offering a double. And what does white do? Well, you have to do it before you roll. You can't do it after you've rolled. You can't do it after when it's your opponent still to roll. You have to wait until it's your turn, and then you can double, and you put it somewhere in the middle of the table. It doesn't really matter exactly where, and the opponent decides whether to accept it or decline it. You decline it by putting it back here saying no thanks, and some sort of thing like a bit when no more cards in blackjack you might have seen before. Surrender really in backgammon. Or alternatively, you accept it, and this is a very close decision which has been analysed by top computers. Most opinion is that it's slightly better to refuse it than to accept it. But people really don't like giving up so early in the game, and majority of people that I know accept this cube. And I also accept it, I must admit, because it's a very difficult position to play and very complicated. And the difference between accepting and not accepting is negligible. And you accept it by putting it on your side. Okay, so we've got this position with white accepting the cube and putting the cube on his side of the board, or her side of the board. And now white is to play, and white is aiming to make points in his home board to prevent white from entering, and possibly to hit one or both of these checkers. Let's see what red rolls. So red rolls a double 4, as we've explained before. That's a number that has to be played 4 times, and I'm pretty certain that the right play here will probably be to make this point, but I'm not 100% sure. It's quite interesting. Probably won't be far wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. So red now has 4 points in a row, and white is much more likely to miss a turn now. And if white does come in, there'll still be 3 loose checkers. We've got a strong board. So this appears to be the highest priority at that stage. So white to go now, and we'll roll for white rather than to see what white actually gets. He's got a 3-1. So white didn't come in. So at this point, red is licking her lips and looking forward to hitting one of these 2 checkers, and maybe to attacking any checkers that come in here. So this is a full carpet bombing blitz, as it were, where red is going to try to close out all 3 of these checkers, and will possibly win a gammon or even a backgammon. So, but the game can turn round. We'll see what happens. So red got the 2-3, not such a great roll, and I think that it's probably right to just come down to this, cover this point. Okay. And white to go again. And white didn't come in again with a 6-1. So red to go. Red got a 5-2. So we can't do much with the 5 except this one, because there's no, not able to make any new points. And the 2, we come down at the back here. So white's fighting back a bit. If he comes in, white goes. Right, white's got a 4-2. Okay, not a great roll, but I think the best that white can do is to come in with a 4. Has to come in on the 4 or the 2. At least he can cover this one now with the 2. But red is still going to be attacking. (5-3). Not such a great roll, and that can't hit anything here. So there is no way to hit either this or this. And so about the best that I think we can do is to go 5 and 3. And white is somehow surviving this attack. And white got a 5-1. Not a great roll. Probably the best we can do is come out with the 5 and the 1, so that this is the only one vulnerable one to a direct shot. 6-6, also 1-2 will hit this one. But there we are. Can't have everything. 5-3 again. So this is actually turning round now. It's not such a great position for red, because he hasn't been able to hit any more checkers. So probably the 3 to here. 1, 2, 3, and the 5 to here. That's about the best. White is still probably underdog, but it's not so clear. 6-4. Now probably right to try to make some points now. You might leave this 1, but that's, I think, starting to make 6 here and 4 here. Is 3 or 4 blocking points now, so it's going to be a lot harder for red to escape. Now another horrible 5-3. This is getting very awkward. I think you can move the 3 here, but that will just come under attack again. So probably the 3 here and the 5 here. 4-1 for white. So we could make this point, the bar, or we can play safely to here. Red's got a strong board. If we play this play, then there would be 4 numbers, 4-6 and 2-6, which would hit you, and red's got a strong board. But it's still very good to make the bar. The alternative is to play here, which is safer, and the 4 shots probably are a bit expensive to pay. I think the alternative is terrible, to make this one, because that would leave a direct 6. So white's got to think now as the risk and reward and how to play safely, and I think white probably should play this. Okay, white decides to play that anyway. Red gets a 1-6, and the best that red can do is either come out with, we can come out with a 6 and cover with a 1. That's probably the right thing to do. Got to hope. Now white will try to block as much as possible. 6-5. Not such a great roll. Can attack here. That would leave some returns, but I think that's probably alternatively to hit 2, but that would leave more returns again. I think this is likely to be the right play, because now there are some 2s that hit, but not that many. So red now has to come in, and he gets 6-2. So now there's no play of the 6. So he has to play the 2 because he can't play the 6. And he can't play the 6 as well. Okay. Right, that's probably not quite enough for white to redouble. So white decides to just play on. And this is a tremendous roll, and this is going to be the end of the game, I think. Double 6, he plays 2 down to here and 2 into here, putting 2 checkers on the bar. Red needs a really good roll like double 4 or double 5 to have any chance. 3-1, and he comes in with a 1. And now white thinks, well, this is getting very good now. If I make one of these 2 points, I'm going to be winning. White decides to redouble to 4. So we see that only white could redouble. The point at which you redouble is when you think you're going to win, but you're not certain to win. There's no point waiting until you close out red. And I think there's still a chance that red's got of winning, but there's also a chance that white might gammon red. So this is definitely a case now. I would pass for sure, and I would imagine that red's winning the position about 20% of the time, maybe around about there, if that, maybe less. And red's got a strong board, but it's not so clear. I think I would pass at this point. That explains the strategy of the game a little. Only touched upon it. Really can't cover everything in one lesson. I produced a couple of books on backgammon called Starting Out in Backgammon and Improve Your Backgammon, both available on Amazon. I hope you enjoy the game and learnt a little bit about the strategy of the doubling cube and the swings and roundabouts of tournament backgammon. Thank you.